You know, there's some actors you feel like you know. And then, well, there's Rosamund Pike, an actress who just disappears so completely into her characters, she leaves almost nothing of herself behind. She's like Hollywood's beautiful, terrifying, and brilliant ghost. So the question is, how did she become one of the most compelling and unreadable performers of our time?
And that quote you just saw from director David Fincher, that's basically the key to everything. I mean, for most actors, being unmemorable is a career killer. But for Rosamund Pike, it became her superpower. It was that exact quality, that brilliant, unnerving mystery, that convinced Fincher she was the only person who could play one of modern cinema's most iconic villains.
To really understand the actress, we have to go all the way back to the beginning. We need to peel back the layers of this carefully built career to find the real person underneath, or, at least the person she wants us to see.
See, her story doesn't kick off in Hollywood. It starts in a world of art, intellect, and, believe it or not, a whole lot of rejection. She was born in London to opera singers, so her entire upbringing was just steeped in high culture. She went on to study English literature at Oxford, so you'd think she was destined for a pretty traditional British acting career. But her journey, well, it was anything but conventional.
But here's the crazy part. Despite all her talent, her incredible background, the established path just rejected her. Every single stage school she applied to turned her down. But instead of giving up, she just forged her own way, proving really early on that she was going to define her career completely on her own terms.
Her film debut was absolutely massive, but it came with a huge risk, being forever typecast. A risk she avoided masterfully.
So in 2002, boom, she's a Bond girl, the icy Miranda Frost. An iconic role for sure, but also a potentially limiting one. Then just a few years later, she does a complete 180. She's the kind, warm-hearted Jane Bennett in Pride and Prejudice. Now, this was not an accident, this was a deliberate statement, a showcase of her range. It was her way of refusing to be put in a box.
And then came the role that would change everything. The one that took that enigmatic quality she had and turned it into an absolute cultural phenomenon.
And this is where it all comes full circle. David Fincher didn't want a star that people already felt they knew. He needed a blank canvas, an actress whose inner thoughts were a total mystery. He needed Amy Dunn to be as unreadable to us, the audience, as she was to her own husband. He needed Rosamund Pike.
And the response was just electric. Critics weren't just impressed, they were completely mesmerized. Vanity Fair called it a star-makingly good performance. The Hollywood Reporter said she was powerful and commanding. And MovieWeb, they flat out called her beyond brilliant and convincingly evil. She hadn't just played a role, she had embodied a cultural moment.
And audiences, they showed up in droves. Gone Girl wasn't some quiet, critical darling. It was a box office smash, pulling in over $356 million worldwide. The amazing Amy character she created became this universal symbol of female rage and cunning.
And that performance brought her to the absolute pinnacle of industry recognition. An Academy Award nomination for Best Actress. She had officially arrived. Not as a Bond girl, not as an English Rose, but as one of the most formidable talents in Hollywood.
But instead of just capitalizing on her villainous fame, she pivoted, again. She started using her platform to explore roles with real conviction and real-world importance. In A Private War, she took on the part of the celebrated journalist Marie Colvin, a woman who literally ran toward danger to report the truth. Pike has said that all she's ever really been interested in is truth, and this role was the ultimate expression of that. A really deep, emotional dive into the life of a woman who sacrificed absolutely everything for it. And that search for truth didn't just end when the camera stopped rolling. She was so inspired by her work on the film that she became an ambassador for the Mines Advisory Group, or MAG, which is a charity dedicated to clearing landmines. Her art directly fueled her activism, completely blurring the lines between her performance and her purpose. So, when you step back and look at her career as a whole, a really clear picture starts to form. It's a career built not on chance, but on meticulous, intelligent control. I mean, from her Oscar nomination for Gone Girl, she went on to win a Golden Globe for playing another brilliant, morally gray woman in I Care a Lot. Then, she won an Emmy for the comedy series State of the Union and got a BAFTA nomination for that unforgettable role in Saltburn. Every choice is different, yet each one just reinforces her brand. Complex, challenging, and always captivating.
But, maybe the real key to understanding her isn't just about control. Maybe it's about a philosophy of courage. She lives by this motto of saying yes. Yes to the difficult roles. Yes to the challenging travel. Yes to experiences that push her boundaries.
It's a mindset that actually led her to take her young sons all the way to the Jordanian desert just to sleep under the stars and, as she put it, call the sky the biggest bedroom.
So in the end, we're left with a really fascinating question. Do we really know the woman behind all these incredible roles? Or is Rosamund Pike herself the most complex, compelling character she has ever played? You know, perhaps this enigma isn't meant to be solved, but simply to be admired.